Recording is on.
Oh, it's okay. Like my feet are dry as hell, so it's totally fine. Okay, welcome guys. We're gonna go ahead and get started. As you know, this is Animal Flow, and I am your instructor for today, Andrew, aka Tactics, Flow Tactics Coaching. See there, I promoted Pat. Okay, so what we're going to do first is I always like to start the class, and actually, sorry, just to give an introduction for those who may not know what Animal Flow is and decide to watch this later. It's basically a ground-based movement system that combines a lot of different disciplines together into one unique system. So you're going to see a lot of influences from like breakdancing, parkour, gymnastics. You might see some moves that resemble yoga to some degree. So basically, it's just unique mobility, like a dynamic mobility system. So that's it in a nutshell. And usually what I like to do prior to the class is I like to start by priming. So we focus on either upregulating the nervous system through the breath. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a technique known as the Wim Hof method. And what it does is, or what it entails is basically using the breath to charge your body with energy. So based on our nervous system, we have our autonomic nervous system, which it controls the autonomic regulation of our body. So it's linked to our breathing, our heart rate, blood pressure, etc. Right? And so that autonomic nervous system is split into two different divisions. So you have your sympathetic nervous system, which equates to your fight or flight response, and then you have your parasympathetic nervous system, which equates to your rest and digest. Right? So whenever you inhale, you are essentially triggering your sympathetic nervous system. And then when you exhale, you're triggering your parasympathetic nervous system, right? So that's why in certain modalities like yoga, they often encourage the lengthening of the exhale to downregulate your nervous system and relax, right? We obviously don't want to be too relaxed in the system because we're getting ready to work. So we want to upregulate the nervous system. So what we're going to do using the Wim Hof method is we're going to emphasize rapid breathing. So in other words, it's kind of like a controlled hyperventilation. That's what the technique is kind of based around. And what that does is it basically trains your nervous system to be more resilient to stress, because stress essentially, when we get stressed, it's basically based off of our perception of stress, right? Or our perception of a stressful experience. So to put it into perspective, you can have two people that are riding on a roller coaster. One person really, really loves the roller coaster and loves the thrill of going upside down and everything. And then the other person is terrified and thinks that they're gonna die if they're on the roller coaster, right? So both those people experience stress, but their perception to the stress is different. So they're both in their sympathetic state, but the second person is highly stressed and thinks he's gonna die. The other person is having the time of his life, right? So when we change our perception to the stress based off of our breathing, we can build more resilience to stress overall. So the method is basically going to start like this. So we're gonna focus on inhaling, and then followed by a passive exhale. So we're gonna do 30 to 40 breaths. This usually takes about 1 minute to do. So I'll set a timer for 1 minute as we go through this process. And then after the final minute, after your final breath, you're going to exhale all the air out of your lungs. And with your lungs empty, you're gonna hold that breath for as long as you can until your gasp reflex kicks in. So as soon as you feel the urge to take your breath, you're gonna inhale, take a final recovery breath, hold that breath for 15 seconds, and then exhale, and you should feel this charge of energy as you do so. So I'll just go through it really quickly just to kind of demonstrate, and then we'll go through it together to start and upregulate our nervous system. So basically you start by just inhaling. So the inhale and the exhale looks like this. So it's So you're inhaling actively and you're not forcing the air out. You're just naturally letting it go, but then taking a quick breath in for 30 to 40 breaths. After that, after the timer is up, you're gonna exhale all the air out of your lungs and then hold your breath for as long as you can until your gasp reflex kicks in. And then you take your recovery breath and hold for 15 seconds. So
Sorry, Andrew, are you doing it through your nose? Because I can't see because of the mask.
Yeah, I know. I forgot I had the mask on. Yes, you're breathing in through your nose, and then you can either exhale through your nose or through your mouth. Okay? Cool?
Yeah.
All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. So I'll set a timer for 1 minute, and we'll do the breath together. Now, word of caution for those here live or anyone watching later, don't do this method if you are epileptic, if you have high blood pressure, if you're pregnant, or don't do this in water or operating under heavy machinery. So don't do this while you're driving because you will crash and you could potentially die.
Can you do it lying down?
You can do it lying down, yeah, because we're only going to do 1 round, but the more times you do it, so if you were to do it for 3 to 4 cycles, some people do experience a sense of lightheadedness just because you're filling your body with oxygen, like more oxygen. So CO2, the carbon dioxide that you breathe out, goes down, oxygen goes up, and so that saturation of oxygen can elicit some forms of mild lightheadedness. So depending on how you're feeling, if you decide that you want to just do it lying down just to be safe, feel free to do so. But we'll only do 1 breath, so it should be okay, just enough to charge the body. Yeah?
Okay.
All right. So ready? 3, 2, 1, and go. Now breathe all your air out. When your gas reflex kicks in, you take your final breath in and hold for 15 seconds. And exhale when you're ready. And then just start to breathe normally. Get a feel for that sensation in your body. Relax into your space. How are we feeling so far? Light? Yeah. Good. So the more you do that, and you can go slow in terms of the intensity, and then you can start to ramp up the intensity as you start to get more familiar with the system, and you'll start to notice the physiological changes that occur in your body. So you'll feel a little bit more alert as a result of the rapid inhales, because like I said, the inhale triggers the sympathetic nervous system. So this is a great, so if you're low on energy, this is a great kind of pick me up, if you don't have access to coffee or you're not a coffee drinker, this is a great alternative just to kind of liven you up and upregulate your nervous system. Okay. So now that we're a little bit more alert, we'll go ahead and start with our warm up. So because animal flow is pretty crappy on the wrist, we spend quite a bit of time focusing on our wrist mobility. So what I'm going to get you guys to do to start, we're going to just warm up the wrist by interlocking the fingers here like this. And we're going to roll them out nice and slow. How you doing, Maria?
I'm good, thank you.
And from here, you're going to open up the hands, palms facing down towards the floor. You're going to fold one hand over top like this. Bring the hands down to your pelvis here. And what you're going to do is you're going to pull the top hand up to your eye line. And then when you get to your eye line, you're going to switch the position and then pull down. And what you're trying to do, so continue with that motion going up and down. What you're trying to do is emphasize wrist flexion. So that's just bending the wrist like this forward, and then wrist extension. So as you're doing that wave, I want you to go all the way into extension and flexion. So if you have enough range, but you only stop here, it's not going to do anything until you go to your end range. So you can actually feel the stretch happening in your wrist and your hands. And you can start to create a wave here like so. And then when the clubs start to open up again, you can add this and start doing all kinds of dances and stuff, you know? Be a new dancer. Exactly. There you go.
I'm trying to contain myself so much. So there's another member here.
No, Pat doesn't mind. She's okay.
Oh, yeah. Don't. I'm very, very silly. You know what? Some of the benefit of this wrist movement. One morning I went for an early morning walk when there was a little bit of black ice.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I was aware of it, so I was walking a little cautiously. But anyway, it did take me out, and but I was able to catch myself and with my hand, and it was fine. And I said, I always think that this activity helps with when you have to fall and that type of stuff, right? Whether it's true or not, that's what I tell myself.
Absolutely. Okay, so moving on now, we're going to start to do some mobility work for the wrist itself. So what I want you to do is you're going to hold your hand out like this, your working hand, so right or left, doesn't matter because you're going to be doing both. Take your second hand, place it underneath your forearm like this, and I want you to imagine that you have a glass of, whatever you drink, wine, orange juice, milk, whatever it is. Just imagine you have a glass of water resting on the top of your forearm, right, like that, right? The objective here is you don't want to spill the glass of milk or orange juice, right? You want to just make sure that the movement is happening from the wrist alone. So what we're doing in terms of the movement is we're going into wrist extension. So we're bending the wrist down as much as we can. And then we're going to go into deviation. So you're going to turn the wrist to the side as much as you can, and then fold the wrist up towards you, but making sure that you're not compensating and moving the fingers as well. So don't bend the fingers. Perfect. Yeah, that's a good cue there. So you put your phone there. Don't drop your phone. And then extend the wrist. All the more reason to do it, girl. Don't drop it. And then make sure that you're not compensating anywhere else other than the wrist.
And then you go left?
Yep. So you'll do two to three rounds one way, and then go in the opposite direction. And try to make the circle as big and as wide as possible. Good. Then we'll switch the position, or switch the hands, sorry. So again, going into extension, deviation, flexion, and deviation on the other side. Yeah, mine is super tight. And then going the other direction. Perfect. And relax. So one final drill that we're going to do for the wrist. You're going to place the hands down in front of you like so, about shoulder width with your shoulders stacked directly over top of the wrist. And what we're going to do is we're going to just lean from side to side, going into our end range, making sure we're working in a pain-free zone. And from here, we'll make a circle with our body here.
Oh, my knee. Hardwood.
Oh, okay.
Hardwood.
Yeah, I know I said we didn't need mats, but maybe we need mats for this part. And then change the direction. Beautiful. All right, so now I just want you guys to take the back of the hands here, press them firmly together, and bring them to your chest, and then drive the hands down and back up, trying your best to maintain that pressure in the back of the hands. And this is called your wrist relief. So feel free to do this at any point during the workshop here or during the class. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to teach you one of our foundational movements, followed by some form-specific stretches today. So the first one is so in animal flow, we have what's called the ABCs of animal flow. So we have the A, which represents our ape or our deep ape position, which is a resting squat position just like this. We have the B, which represents our beast or static beast, which is the main focus for today's class. And it's this quadruped position like this. And then we have the C, which represents our crab or static crab. And it's this position here. So those are our foundational movements within the animal flow system, but we're just going to focus on static beast for now. So I'm going to get you guys to all mimic me. And we're going to get into this quadruped position. And I'm going to walk you through the cues. So first cue is we want to make sure that the feet and the knees are hip width apart. Then we want our knees to be slightly ahead of our hip line. So not directly underneath the hips. I want you to walk the knees a little bit forward so they're essentially underneath your belly button. So if you find your belly button, draw a line down to the floor. Your knees should line up perfectly with your belly button line. Then we want the hands to be shoulder width apart, fingers spread nice and wide, and then shoulder stacked directly over top of the wrist. And then from here, we want to set our spine into neutral. So that's that nice natural lumbar curve in our lower back. So how we find that position is we go through the cat camel, right? So we push through our shoulders, rounding the spine. This is considered point A. Then we want to arch our back, creating a curve in our spine. That's point B. Then we want to split the difference between those 2 points. So if this is A and this is B, I want you to find that midpoint between A and B, and that'll set you up into a nice natural curve. Okay. Then from here, we want to corkscrew the arms so we stabilize the shoulders. And what I mean by that is, so if you look at the pit of my elbow, as kind of a gauge here, I lock my hands into position so I don't move my hands. I just turn my arms outward so that the pit of my elbows face towards the camera, so facing towards you guys. Okay? Then you'll notice that your shoulders kind of come inward towards your body. Maintain that tension in the shoulders there by corkscrewing the hands. So you're basically turning the arms outward like that. Then the final thing is we want to brace our core, make the abs nice and tight, so pull the belly button in towards the spine, and then you're going to lift the knees 1 inch off the floor. Maintaining all of those points of tension, and we're going to hold here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Nice and wide. Go on to your wrist relief if you need to. Sorry, I'm just going to mute this. All right, thumbs up if you guys can still hear me. Perfect, good. All right, so that was our static beast, okay? So we'll go into that cue one more time. I'll go into the cue really fast, and you guys just follow along. So we get into our quadruped position. Toes are tucked, feet and knees are hip width apart. Knees are slightly ahead of the hip line, hands underneath the shoulders, fingers spread, corkscrew in the hands so the pit of the elbows face forward. We're going to set our spine into neutral, so find the midpoint between A, grounding the spine, And B, arch the back, set your spine into neutral, and then brace the core and lift the knees 1 inch off the floor, and hold those points of tension for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Nicely done. So that's our static beast. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to get you to come into a loaded beast. So a loaded beast, if any of you guys are familiar with yoga at all, to give you a visual, it's basically like an elevated child's pose. So child's pose, as you may know, it's just like this, sitting the hips back into the feet like this, arms are way up here. Loaded beast is basically just on the toes, knees elevated off the floor, but still in that child's pose position. Okay? So how we can get into that safely is we get into our static beast position. So you get into your cue, so make sure that the knees are slightly ahead of the hip line, toes are tucked, all that stuff. Into your spine, brace the core, lift the knees 1 inch off the floor. From here, from your active static beast position, I want you to sit your bum back into your feet, but don't elevate the knees here. Keep the knees where they are. All I want you to do is drive the knees outward, like that, slightly. Then I want you to walk the hands forward, so you get yourself lower to the ground to the point where you could lift the floor, but don't lift the floor. I don't care how clean your floors are, don't do that, okay? Then your head is going to be in between your arms and push through your shoulders, okay? So you create tension in the midsection of your body, and you're going to hold this position for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Nicely done. Thumbs up if you guys are doing okay. Thumbs down if you need help. Perfect. All right. So that's our loaded beast. Maria, how you doing?
That was intense.
Good.
Loaded beast.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. All right, so we have loaded beast. Now we're going to go into our beast unload. So beast unload starts in loaded beast, and then we extend through our hips, bringing the body forward into an unloaded position beast. So I'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll go through it together. So from your loaded beast, I extend through my hips. I keep my arms locked out. Shoulder passes my wrist line. As soon as that happens, I look forward, extending through my neck, keeping the knees low, and notice how I'm not extending through my knees here. So I'm not locking the legs out and bringing them into a plank push-up or plank position. I'm keeping the knees exactly where they were. Then I return to my loaded beast by pushing through my shoulders and reloading into my original position. Okay? So let's go ahead and see that. So I'm going to get you guys to start from your loaded beast. If you're already familiar with loaded beast, you can get right into it, or you can start from static beast. Okay, and then you're going to go into beast unload. Good. So Nagar, just drop your knees down a little bit more. Yeah, right there. Perfect. Good. And then return. Good. Good. And then when your shoulder passes your wrist line, I want you guys to untuck your chin, looking forward. And then when you're returning back to your loaded beast, tuck your chin slightly, and then drive your hips back into your loaded position. Good. All right, take a break. We'll do this together. We'll go for 5. Yeah, let's go for 5 beast unloads. Okay, so we'll set our loaded beast. And then I'll call it out. So I'm going to say beast unload. Then I'm going to say return. When I say return, you just return back to your loaded beast position. Okay? So ready? Beast unload. So extend through your hips. Keep the knees relatively low and slightly flexed. Looking forward once your shoulder passes your wrist line. And then return. That's 1. Beast unload. That's 2. Return. Beast unload. That's 3. Return. Beast unload. Return. That's 4. Last one. Beast unload. And return. And relax. How we feeling? Good. Awesome. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the wave unload. So beast unload, we go straight forward. Wave unload, we go up and then forward and then down. So again, to use a yoga reference, the beast unload combines, the wave unload combines floating up to downward facing dog, then going forward and dropping the hips down into an upward dog, and then returning. But you want to make sure the wave unload involves a spinal articulation, so a spinal undulation. So undulation just means a wave. So you always want to remember where the wave starts and then where it ends, right? So when we're sending the wave, we're starting from the hips. So you want to have an articulation of the hip going forward into your spinal extension. The wave ends at your neck, and then it starts when you're returning at your neck again. So you're going tucking the chin, sending the wave back down towards your hips. So I'll show you what that means. So we start in our loaded beast position. I go into a wave unload, so I float the hips up towards the sky. I get up nice and high on the toes if I can. Keep my chin tucked to my chest. I start to bring my body forward until my hips start to drop. And then I untuck my chin as the last part of the movement. Then when I return, very important here, I want to tuck my chin, brace my core, and push through my shoulders first. This will send my hips up slightly, and then I'll drive my hips back and down towards my loaded beast position. So if you look at it in terms of the articulation, you should be able to see where that wave happens and then where it continues to go back up and then back down, okay? So just be wary of that and make sure that you're not breaking up the wave. So you don't start the wave at the hip and then all of a sudden you lose it and then it starts again at your upper back. You want to send that wave. Imagine it's like an electrical current that's going all the way up through your body and you're sending it back down, okay? So let's give that a try. Let's go into our loaded beast position. Perfect. And then we'll go into the wave unload. So float the hips up towards the sky. Get up nice and high onto the toes. Tuck your chin to your chest. So keep the chin tucked. Good. And then start to send the wave through the body and then untuck the chin. So now from here, you're going to tuck the chin first. Brace your core. Push through the shoulders. And then send the wave back and down. Good. Perfect. How'd that feel? Sorry. Yeah, you gotta unmute yourself.
Hi.
Oh.
I need to talk. You can't hear me. Okay, so when I go from how far out do I put my hands in the beast?
That's a good question. So
when I go the upwards, I find I have to move my hand up to actually get into.
Yeah. So for everyone, it's going to be a little bit different because everyone has different levers in terms of the length of their legs and their arms. So you really have to gauge it based off of how far forward you bring your hand. So rule of thumb, if you start in your loaded beast and your knees are way up here, that means that your hands are probably too close to your body. And therefore, when you start to do the wave, you don't have enough room, so you have to adjust, right? The lower you can get your knees, the better, because that means that you have to reach out in front a lot more. So if I'm low to the ground here, like this,
yeah,
to the point where I can lick the floor, again, don't do it, but to the point where you're that low, and then I wave them low.
Okay, so it's one motion, got it. Yeah.
Now you hit it every single time, right? So go as wide as you're able to comfortably, where you don't lose the shape of your loaded beast. And then as you start to continue going through the wave, you should be fine going back and forth. Sound good? Cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and do 5 wave unloads from our loaded beast position. Remembering your articulation. So when you're sending the wave, keep that chin tucked because your neck is part of your spine. So you don't want the spine to articulate too early. You want to make sure that it starts from the hips, goes up through the lumbar spine, so the lower back, then the mid back, T-spine, then your cervical spine. Good. All right, so ready? Loaded beast. And then wave unload. Good. Tuck the chin and reverse. Good. And while you're doing this, I really want you to focus on 2 things. So focus on your breath and then focus on the sensation that you feel. I want you to really be in your body and really imagine you sending that wave up and down your spine. So after your 5, you can relax. Make sure you're not holding your breath.
I lost count.
So I think that was 5. How did it feel?
I was shaky.
It's all good. Yeah, because
I haven't done anything like this in so long.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Because it's a new movement, it's going to be a little foreign to you at first, but obviously with practice, the more you start to do it, you'll start to kind of get a feel for it. But that's why I said you want to make sure that you're in your body, more in your body and less in your mind. Because when you start to analyze, you overanalyze, and you start to become more cautious and more like concerned about how the movement looks rather than how it feels. So I always want you guys to operate with the notion of feel the movement, don't think the movement, right? So when you're doing your waves, you should be able to feel where that wave is happening. Don't think about whether or not it looks good. Just feel it, right? Get more in tune with your body in that regard, okay? So we have static beast, we have loaded beast, beast unload, wave unload. Now we're going to add a front step component to it. So this is a great dynamic movement for the hip flexors or the hips in general. It's a nice stretch, and it's just a good dynamic. Can be used as a warm up or for cardio purposes. So I'll show you what that is. So the front step basically combines a beast unload with a forward stepping component. Basically, you're stepping into a lunge essentially. So you start from your loaded beast, and the call up for this would be right leg front step or left leg front step. So whatever leg I call out, that's the leg or the foot rather that is going to step forward, and you're going to basically replace the same side hand. So as I get into my position here, I do a right leg front step. So my right leg is going to step forward where my right hand was, and my right hand, or my right arm rather, is going to pull back into this retracted position. So I go here, from my loaded beast, I go into a right leg front step. Okay, so I'm stepping the leg forward, it replaced the hand, and I pull my hand back, and now my back leg is in this extended position here. Okay, when I want to return, I simply place the hand back down on the inside of that stepping leg, brace my core, and I return back to my loaded position. So what we essentially did was we combined the beast unload, but we popped up off of that base leg. So from here, I popped up off the base leg and I stepped forward like that. Okay? And I want to make sure I sit upright. I don't want to be down like this because then I lose the stretch in that back leg. Okay? So let's do 3 on both sides. Okay? So I'll call it out. So we'll set ourselves up in our loaded beast to start.
Sorry, Coach.
Yeah.
The elbow as it comes back.
Yeah.
Is a little shoulder height, slightly higher.
Yeah. So it'll be shoulder height. So it's almost like, so imagine like if you were doing like a cable row. That's essentially what it is.
And where's our gaze?
And our gaze is forward
Forward.
and no rotation.
No.
Right? Staying upright here and then pulling back with the arm. Okay? So from our loaded beast position, we're going to go into a left leg front step. Good. Return. So drop the hand on the inside. Go back to a loaded beast position. Right leg front step. Drop the hand. Return. As you step, so before you're ready to step, inhale. As you step forward, take an exhale as you make that movement. Okay? So ready? Left leg front step. Drop the hand. Return. Right leg front step. Drop the hand. Return. Left leg front step. Return. Right leg front step. And return. And relax.
I really like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love that one. How we feeling?
Good. My quads are on fire.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of quad work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quads are
Oh
fire.
yeah. When I was learning this, I loved it, but I hated it because it was just
It's all
6 hours of this. It's brutal. But okay, so that's the front step. Now what we're gonna do is a front step through. Are we all good with the front step? Can we move on or need more clarification? We're good? Okay. So now we're gonna do the step through. So the step through is basically, we're starting with that front step, then with that back leg, we're stepping through and kicking forward. So when I do my front step, so I just did a left leg front step, I now take my back leg, I pull it forward, and I step it through in this position. Couple of key points here. One, if you don't have adequate amount of hip flexibility, then what you can do to kind of hack it to work to your favor is normally with the front step, like I said, the stepping leg replaces the same side hand. In this case, if you're lacking range of motion, then you can do your front step off to the side of your hand, the same side hand. That will open up the window a little bit wider for you. So rather than stepping where my hand was, I can step off to the side of my hand, and it gives me a little bit more room for me to step that back leg forward. Another thing is, when we're stepping forward, we want to make sure that that front step foot stays down. When you pop the heel off the ground, this represents stepping on the gas. Stepping on the gas means go. Stepping down with the heel, that's stepping on the brake, that means stop. If you're doing your step through and your heel is off the ground, you're now adding an unnecessary balance component. So now you're fighting your body to try to stabilize yourself when it's unnecessary, when you can just find stability by dropping that heel down, okay? Another thing is, the hand position changes when you go from your front step to your step through. Reason being is, when I step through, I don't want to be in this retracted position. I want to go into a guard position when I step through, because the reason for that is, once I start to step through, if my arm is still back here, what's going to happen is it's going to pull me off my balance. So when I go here, or I'll do this side, when I step through, if I still stay here, it's going to pull me back this way, because now some of my weight is going back this way. I have no stability on this side, so I've lost all that balance, and then I topple over, right? So you want to, as you're stepping through, you want to go from your retraction to your guard position, okay? So what it looks like, slowly, I go into a right leg front step. Then from here, I can shift my weight to my base arm to give myself a little bit more support. I pull that back leg through that window, and I change into my guard position here. So I went from here to here. My kicking leg is facing forward, and I'm externally rotating the hip, so turning the hip outward, so the knee kind of points laterally off to the side, and I'm pointing the toe and keeping that hip nice and low. So I don't want the hip way out here, go way out there, right? If you're flexible, then that's great, but just don't do it in the front kick through or the front step through. Cool? All right, so we'll start. So we'll do it as a call out this time. So I'm gonna say right leg front step and then left leg step through. Okay? All right, so we'll set our loaded beast and we'll go into a left leg front step, right leg step through. Now to return, you just reverse that. So pull the leg back in or back to your stepping position. Drop the hand to the inside and come back to a loaded beast position. Then right leg front step, left leg step through. And return. Left leg front step, right leg step through. And return. Right leg front step, left leg step through. And return. And relax. Nicely done.
You're gonna have fun watching the video.
I missed that. I just turned my head and she was just on the
That
ground.
was a mess. Oh God.
Hilarious. How you feeling?
Hi.
How
I'm
you
good.
Good. Okay. So we're coming up on time. So what we're gonna do now is, do we need any more clarification on any of the movements, or are we all good? Perfect. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna combine all of these together into a flow. All right, so we'll stick to one side for now. So I'll show you what we'll do. We're gonna start from loaded beast, and we're gonna go into beast unload, return, wave unload, return, left leg front step, right leg front step, or front step through, return, and then we do that same thing on the other side. So we're gonna do the beast unload, wave unload, front step through, finito.
All right, totally, we got it. We got it. Nice and fluid.
Nice and fluid.
Nice and
All
fluid.
right. So, key things to remember. Make sure you're breathing through your movements and make sure you're feeling through your movement. Don't overthink. If you feel like you're messing up, go with that feeling, but move on from it and keep going. All right? So, let us begin. Starting in our loaded beast. Beast unload. Return. Wave unload.
Oh, I see I already screwed up.
It's all good. And return. Left leg front step. Right leg step through. Return. Beast unload. Return. Wave unload. Return. Right leg front step. Left leg step through. And return.
That return's tricky, coach.
And relax. Nicely done.
I think the return is trickier than the move.
Yeah.
Return is
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Let's see you return, Maria. And then you'll step through.
My heel pops up a little bit, still. And then, whoo.
So for the return, place the hand down, the guard hand down first. So you want to reverse it. So as you're pulling back in, so as you're in your step through, as you're pulling it in, place the hand down and then return. So you're here, place the hand down and then come back. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But I still feel like I have to adjust my hand out a bit.
So when you're here in that guard position, try to, as you're coming back, you're gonna simultaneously place the hand back into that position here. Or, because usually what you would do is you would just return back to your retracted position.
Yeah.
But if we're doing like a front kick through, you don't have time to do that. So if we're doing front kick through, which is basically combining front step and the step through together, so you're like this, and then you're back. So usually I would jump back and catch myself with my hand. So as I'm here, I jump back and place my hand back down into my stable position here. Yes, just do a little bit more quick on that hand placement. There it is. Nice, Nagar.
Really?
Yeah, that was good. That's it. See, the problem is you're overthinking it, right? You just have to feel it. So Maria, don't overthink it. Yes, that's it.
Okay, practice makes perfect.
Yeah. Just a little faster on that side, but you got it. Yeah, that's it. You got it. How we feeling?
This was fun.
I told you, nigga. You didn't believe me. But I told you. I wasn't lying to you.
I'm telling you, do it for a good cause.
Yeah.
Do it every.
All proceeds going to mental health, and then you're on top of that, you're getting some mental health out of this too.
Yes.
You know,
Okay.
a win-win all around. Perfect. All right, let's do it. Let's do it one more time. I want to watch it, but I'll give you guys the cues, and then we'll start to down-regulate our nervous system to kind of end things off. Okay. All right. So let's. I know you didn't really get much time to rest, Maria. You good? Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's start in our loaded beast position. And from here, we're gonna go we're gonna go beast unload. Good. And then look forward, Nagar. Yep, and then tuck your chin and return, everybody. Good. Wave unload. Nicely done. Tuck the chin and return. Good. Left leg front step. Good. Right leg step through. Good. Return. Good. Beast unload. Good. Return. Wave unload. Good. And return. Good. Right leg front step. Left leg step through. Good. Return. And relax.
Ooh.
Nicely done, guys.
Wow, that was crazy.
How are we feeling?
I'm dying.
Amazing. All right. Okay. So now we're gonna slow things down. We're gonna go into our cool down. So at the top of the hour, we went into upregulation of the nervous system to kind of get us like more lively, wake us up a little bit, and get us nice and primed for the flow. Now we want to do the opposite. We went from sympathetic, right? So now we want to transition to our parasympathetic nervous system. And really all this does is a matter of now just lengthening your exhale to downregulate your nervous system, just like in yoga, how they preach that. But I also encourage you, you don't necessarily have to do this, but the problem with people in terms of like, you often hear people say, oh, I have a hard time meditating because I get easily distracted. Well, of course you do. It's because we are so used to getting distracted. How many times per day do notifications go on your phone and pulls away your focus from what you're doing, right? We've adopted this ability of, or this habit of getting easily pulled away from our initial focus, right? So we practice heavily on getting distracted, but we don't practice about focus, right? So the way the brain waves work is in the sense of concentration and focus is the mind, we're constantly thinking all the time. We think about 60 thoughts per minute. And if you're stressed out, that number increases, right? So the objective is we want to slow down our brain waves through means of like meditation or slowing our breathing. And what this does is when we start to focus on one thing, so whether it's our breath or a mantra of some sort, those brain waves start to slow down and they lower, and your thoughts go from 60 thoughts per minute to then 40, to then 30, to then 10, to then you're just in this state of essentially like just mindful flow state, right? So what I encourage you guys to do is, what I like to do personally is I like to focus on a specific mantra. And the mantra specifically doesn't need, it can be just a word, but the word doesn't actually have to have any sort of meaning. It could be a random word that's not even in the English dictionary, because the reason for that is, let's say we use the word that we were familiar with, like apple, right? What happens is you start to your brain will make associations with apple, and it'll be like, okay, well, I'm thinking of apple. Well, how big is the apple? Is it big or small? Is it a red apple? Is it a green apple? Is it a yellow apple? Then it's like, maybe it's not even the Apple fruit. Maybe it's an Apple computer. So now you're thinking, oh, Apple iMac, Apple iPod. So your brain is constantly trying to make associations with the word, versus if the word was just a random thing that makes no sense, your brain starts to focus on, okay, what does this word mean? I don't understand what this means. And so it's constantly trying to focus and trying to find meaning of the word. And eventually your brain becomes fatigued and it's just like, all right, I'm tired. I'm just going to slow down. And it trains you to stay focused on that one thing. So as we start to go into this cool down, we're going to get nice and comfortable. We're going to lay on our back. We're going to focus on our breath. So again, keeping in mind that the exhale is the most important part in this variation of the cool down, because we want to lengthen the exhale to trigger our parasympathetic nervous system and bring us into a state of relaxation. But also, I encourage you to just randomly think of a word and focus on that one word, or focus on your breath or whatever, but just keep your focus on one thing and one thing only. Your brain will essentially drift from time to time. That's totally okay. Just bring your focus back to that one thing, okay? So, lay down on your back, get nice and comfortable, close your eyes, be less in your mind, more in your body. Take a nice deep breath in, and without force, just exhale. Breathing in through your belly, so as you inhale, you feel your belly expand. And as you exhale, feel your body melt into the floor. Picking an intention, picking a mantra, picking a word that doesn't mean anything. Focusing on it. ready, I want you to bring your attention back to the room. Slowly open your eyes if they were closed. I want you to pull your left leg in. And I want you to slowly roll over to your right side. And then make your way back to seated. How are we feeling, guys? Okay, good.
I could sleep now. Okay.
Amazing, amazing. That's the general idea. We want to upregulate, feel good, and then just, be nice and in a state of relaxation afterwards. Right?
Now I can go back to numbers. God help me.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, feel free to use those breathing techniques. Like I said, whenever you need a pick me up, an increase in energy, then start to incorporate that Wim Hof method. I encourage you to actually go on the website and look up the Wim Hof method as a whole, because it involves a lot of other stuff. It's a 3-pillar system. So it's the breath work, meditation, and then the cold exposure. And then for the down regulation, really anything that helps to promote that lengthening of the exhale is really going to bring you into a state of relaxation. And the concept is really linked to the brain and the brain waves, in the sense of the more you start to slow down your brain waves, be that meditation, be that exercise, be that music of some sort, you start to downregulate the nervous system, but you also start to slow down those brain waves. And this actually helps to reduce stress, because the more stressed you are, the more stressed out you are. When you analyze the brain waves, you'll see that your brain waves are actually stimulated, and there's a lot of activity going on because of all the thoughts that are happening and occurring, right? But if you analyze the brain waves of someone who's in a more relaxed or a transcendental state, brain waves are a lot slower, right? And they're in a state of bliss and relaxation. So that's really overall consensus for downregulating and reducing your level of stress.
Question.
You're giving me 5, okay.
When I downregulate, I tend to get cold. Is
Yeah,
that normal?
yeah. So that's a common thing too. Your body temperature will fluctuate as you start to kind of focus on your breathing and downregulate. Yeah, that's a normal occurrence that will eventually happen. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very welcome, guys. Thank you guys so much for your participation. And of course, thank you for anyone who decides to watch this later and participate. And yeah, keep practicing, keep breathing, and we'll see you guys again soon.
Thanks, Maria. Thanks, Andrew.
Tuning in, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Maria, for allowing us in this space.
This was all you anyways, so don't worry. You don't have to take me. You did all.
All right, guys.
Have a great day. Stay safe.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Yeah, I do a lot of that breathing.